Hey guys, Seed up here, and it's been a while since we've done a Punisher Max review, but we're about to get into Mother Russia, the whole comic review. So let's go ahead and review this little piece of writing by Garth Ennis. So the issue starts off with the Punisher trying to track down this Russian mobster, and of course he eventually finds him, and then here comes Nick Fury. Now, Nick Fury in the Punisher Max is an older version of himself. Very old. I know he's old in the original one, but it seems like he's even older. He's worn down by a whole bunch of shit. Like, he's seen some shit. This is not a very calm Nick Fury. It seems like he's seen a lot of wars and shit, because I think this takes place also in the universe where there's not a lot of heroes. So this is a more warlike Nick Fury. It's not the same type of Nick Fury who deals with heroes and shit like that. At least I think that's the case. I haven't looked at the other Max series. This has been the only one I really looked at, and from what I can tell, it doesn't seem like, at least from the Punisher Max story, that this Nick Fury has dealt with them. But he could have, but I didn't read the Nick Fury Max issue he was in. I just read the Punisher Max, and from the Punisher Max, he doesn't deal with any type of heroes and stuff like that. He just deals with mafia, mob bosses, criminals of that nature. Nick Fury wants him to take on this Barbarossa job, and at first, Frank Castle's like, nah, not in the business, I don't do that anymore. And Nick Fury, of course, gives him something that he can't refuse, which is a list of names and satellite surveillance on a bunch of criminals, DEA, all the people that the DEA, FBI, police, they're all looking for these people, and so he just gives them that full list of names with satellite footage. So it's a pretty fucking good deal for the Punisher, who, of course, is in this never-ending war. My thing is, even if he gets this list, it's still not going to satisfy him, but I guess it's just a never-ending war, and that's Frank Castle is just going into something. Even with the list, he'll know where they are, but it's not going to end the war, which I guess for Frank Castle, that's not what it's about. It's just about fighting the war. They have to get the virus out of this girl, and the one joining him on this mission is Martin Vanheim. And they eventually go to a bar because they need to blend in. They need to get some identification to be able to get into the base. The thing about this is a little off character for the Punisher to just kill a random civilian. I get that he's back in his war mind state, and I guess that's what we're getting here. But for a lot of people, that they may not like that this Punisher would be willing to kill someone just to get a virus. That's not really the Punisher's MO. The Punisher's MO is people who deserve it, people who done a crime, he's going after those people. He doesn't just kill to get the job done. He kills for a specific purpose. That's not the Punisher. The Punisher doesn't kill just anyone just because it will help him accomplish his mission. The Punisher kills people who deserve punishment. Completely different here. And this is a little bit off character, I'd say, about it. And kind of does drag Mother Russia down a little bit because it's a different type of Frank Castle we're getting. Good news about Mother Russia is it does give us Frank Castle's view of how he views his kids and how it was losing them. Because when he has to rescue Galena, he's very protective, very father-like to this little girl, and he's helping her go throughout the base. Only difference, like I'm saying, is Frank Castle is killing these people who are just there to guard the base. This is not something he does. This is not what Frank Castle would do at this stage of his life. Young Frank Castle fighting for the military, sure, but not an older Frank Castle who sees the world a little differently. Nikolai Alexandrov Sakharov, I hope I pronounced that right. He is introduced as the Man of Stone, which I'm probably going to be saying instead of the other name. He's introduced here, and he never shares any time with Frank Castle in this whole comic. They never see each other. The thing about the Man of Stone is he kind of provides this strategic plan against him from a distance. Anyway, Frank is going through all of these Russian people at the base to try to get the girl out, and he is just killing them all until the Mongolian comes in, and he beats the shit out of Frank Castle 1 versus 1, and it wasn't even close. Hand to hand, Frank got his ass beat. As they show in the next issue, though, that Frank Castle, the Punisher, he keeps coming. He just does not stop, and he's able to get the upper hand. He's able to kill the Mongolian in front of the little girl. Frank's still trying to get out the base, and he leaves the little girl with Vanheim, and Vanheim tries to inject the antidote that would kill the little girl. Frank catches him in the act, beats his ass for it, by the way, and he eventually tells them that the generals told him to do this if it looked like they weren't able to get out. And right now it's pretty sketchy situation that they can get out of this silo base with all these Russian soldiers in the way. Frank Castle's plan is to launch the missile silo into the air, but it'll give out and they'll be able to escape the base through the missile silo. The Man of Stone catches this plan, but one of the generals does not believe him. He winds up shooting that dude was an asshole, by the way. One of the generals, I'm sorry. He winds up shooting him, and they are able to get away. Because if he had told the Russians that the Americans were launching a fucking nuclear silo, it would begin a nuclear war, and that would put an end to the world, basically. The Punisher is able to escape. Martin Vanheim gets left in the cold because they had to pick straws, and of course, he was going to lose that. This is the Punisher Max, after all. He gets left. Frank and Galena, they escape and eventually are brought back to America. During the ride home, the Punisher would not let them touch Galena, and that killed the virus, which is what they wanted. And the reason it's destroyed now is because Frank did not let them touch him through that whole ride, and the antidote ate away at the virus. So now there is no virus, which means they didn't get what they want. Frank Castle doesn't get what he wants, which is all the names of all those criminals that the DEA, FBI had, all the surveillance footage. No one wins, basically, which Fury states that everyone lost. Nothing was accomplished here, except for rescuing the girl, which I believe Frank Castle was fine with that. So I guess actually you could say Frank won a little bit. He got some type of victory. And that's basically the end of Mother Russia. I will say the characters are really great. Nick Fury, the Man of Stone, those are really great characters. I know we're going to see the Man of Stone again. As for my comic dub issue, because I know I'm supposed to put that in there, but for the people who already know how I do this, don't worry about it. For the new people, I do actually talk about how it was doing the dub for this. So I'm about to talk a little bit about that with the Man of Stone. I'm not sure if we'll have the same VA. Not sure about that, but I do think that the way that he was portrayed in my dub was the way I wanted it portrayed in the comic, or how it should have been portrayed in the comic. And he's very frightening, yet he's very strategic, smart. It's one of those guys where you talk to on a civilized level, but you just don't get out of line with. That's pretty much the Man of Stone. Anyway, as for the story and where it goes, I think the story in the timeline really doesn't make sense. I think this would have been better if this was in Frank Castle's earlier days, similar to like Punisher Born, because at this point, this is not really what Frank Castle would do. He wouldn't just kill people who don't have anything to do with crime. That's not what he does. He is a one-man war on crime, criminals, and all that. This is people who are just in the military. He's done with that point. He's done with that aspect of his life. And you kind of put him back there. So that's kind of why it doesn't make sense. And it's a little bit out of character for the Punisher in this story. If I had to rate this story, this whole comic dub, I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. The characters are great. It still has that Punisher Max feel to it. And yeah, just a little bit more things on my dub. It was not as hard getting these issues out. The other ones a bit harder. These were fine. Everything in the dub kind of went smoothly for the VAs and stuff like that. Little delays here and there, but not too bad going through this. And we'll be on to Up is Down and Black is White. And I'll see you on that review next time. That's basically all I have to say. See you about. See you on the next review. Peace.